So Nathan Kramb is our speaker for today. I have the great pleasure with working with Nathan on a daily basis. He's done a wonderful job here with us at the college. So we're excited about a lot of the great things that he's done. As with many faculty and staff across the country, and especially as lab intensive as the area that Nathan works, he was forced to be very creative and innovative. And so Nathan is currently the welding instructor at Lake Michigan College. He also teaches courses in metallurgy and robotics at LMC. His prior teaching experience includes Coloma High School and Southwestern Michigan College. In addition to teaching, Nate is also currently a welding inspector on an as-needed basis for Steel Center in South Haven, Michigan. Nate has been using the GoPro camera extensively since the coronavirus pandemic hit. He has recorded various instructional videos for use in his courses and is here to offer his insight and pointers as to what has worked for him throughout the process. So a couple of things, if you want to type questions in the chat, we'll periodically stop Nate and get those questions as you have them. I also have individuals that ask to be pictured, so I'll get them going. But Nate, go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here this morning and have a small presentation to show, kind of showcasing mainly to keep me on track, honestly. Can we see this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, as Dr. Flowers was saying, year and a half ago, all of us really were in the same situation that run lab type classes. I think, shutting down, figuring out what we're going to do, calculating a plan of attack for how we were going to try to move forward and at least finish out the term in which we were training. So, we kind of got together and developed a plan of attack, and I'd like to just kind of work through what our process was quickly, talk about what we actually ended up using as far as equipment is concerned, and then really kind of talking about what I've learned throughout the process. And when I say what I've learned, I think it's what our entire team has learned. So here at LMC, it's myself and Kevin Krittner, who teaches our machine tool. He's also our department chair. We're the only two full-time instructors in the trade manufacturing areas. So we always work very close together. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is also, just from communicating with Kevin and our conversations that we've had over the last year and a half. A lot of it's also what his observations have been. So, and then really what I would like to do is I have a couple short videos that I recorded. One of them, the first one that I'd like to show, is one of the first videos that I used the GoPro camera for. And then the second video is a short video kind of a little bit later on when I felt like I was a little bit more versed in it. They're short, they're about 4 minutes apiece. And then really I'd like to just turn it over to an open discussion. I know that last year at Trends, we kind of talked about a lot of this stuff at the Welding Roundtable. And also the apprenticeship discussion that we had in February. And there was a lot of questions that people had. And that's really honestly, I think, why Dr. Flowers approached me and said, hey, would you be willing to present this year at Trends to kind of talk about your experience? So I don't want to just sit here and talk for 45 minutes straight and bore you guys to death. I do that enough with my own students. So I'd like to kind of have it be a two-way discussion. So I would say that if at any point you have something you want to ask, feel free to participate. I just don't want to be talking the whole time and not interacting. So, why were we in this situation? I'm going to talk about this briefly because I think that we all experienced kind of the same thing if we were in education at the time. What are we going to do? So what we did here is, I remember we had a meeting in the machine tool lab and we literally pulled out an easel and started writing out with a marker what we kind of wanted to do. And the thing that came up was Kevin and I had been talking for really since I started LMC about, we should get a GoPro camera someday and just start recording some stuff on it that, we're always repeating in class. How to set up machines, how to do basic things that we remediate on over and over and over again. And we really, I don't want to say waste time, but you lose class time when you're doing that. So we had been talking about it for like 3 years, and then with this happening, we were able to purchase a GoPro. So we purchased a GoPro, and that was kind of part of our plan. Was we decided we were going to make our own videos to kind of get through that last 7 weeks of training. So initially, we used a document camera. We just pulled document cameras from our classrooms and literally started going around the shop and recording short videos. And that was awesome. The document camera is great. I'll talk more about it here in a little bit. But then we got the GoPro, it came in and it really transformed what we were able to do, because with the document camera, everything's essentially stationary. There were a couple videos that I recorded with Kevin where I literally, he was talking and pointing things out on a CNC machine, and I literally would move the document camera in and out to kind of put emphasis on his points, but it wasn't necessarily practical. So the GoPro really helped help the training videos from the perspective of we were able to add mobility to them. So really, at the end of the day, Dr. Flowers made a comment during this process. He said, it's a bad situation that we're in, but think of this as this opportunity that we've wanted for a long time to be able to add these resources that we just haven't had a chance to do in the past, just due to time constraints and work. So, that was kind of like, I call it the silver lining of the process that we went through. So what did we end up getting? We purchased, this was actually the actual camera that we purchased is right here. It's a GoPro 7. And I'm a pretty low tech person. I don't really stay up. It's kind of a joke in our department, but I don't stay up on the latest and greatest technology. So, we literally did some Googling, checking out reviews, looking on Amazon, and we found this camera. It wasn't the best one out there, but we felt it would be adequate for our needs, and it's more than adequate for what we need to do with it. But this is a year and a half ago now or more, so they have newer versions of them that have even more features. In addition to the camera, I didn't put a bullet point here about it, but we did buy a memory card for the camera. It did not come with one, so we went to Office Depot or whatnot and bought a little memory chip. And then what we also purchased with the camera was one of these accessory kits. And this is the actual accessory kit that we purchased off of Amazon for our camera. And a lot of the items in here I have not used. I haven't had a reason to use them. Most of the time when we're recording videos, we use the head strap, or we will use the little tripod and use that for kind of more stationary type shots. But it comes with all kinds of accessories. The accessory kit was not expensive at all. I think at that time we got all this stuff for like $20-$30. So, there's things in here where you can strap it to your wrist, you can strap it to your chest, various ways to set up the camera for what you're trying to accomplish. But like I said, most of the time we used the headgear. So we also did use the document camera, and realistically, the document camera, I probably ended up using that more than I did the GoPro. And the reason I did that was because at that time, I was going to be out on paternity leave at the start of the semester because my wife and I were having a baby. So what I did is I had went through and created PowerPoints for some of my courses, a lot of my courses. So what I would do is I would use the document camera after I had created my presentations, and then I would use the document camera to add my commentary on there, narration. So I use that significantly for like metallurgy and blueprint reading courses, and a lot of welding courses where if all I was going to do was show how to set up a Dynasty TIG welding machine, if I want to run a pulse, how do I do that? I would literally use the document camera, and it was great. What's nice about the document camera is the fact that the files that are created on there are not in high definition. I didn't think they needed to be. So the videos aren't, as sharp, but what's nice about that is the files are a lot smaller. So they take up a lot less space on your computer, or if you want to transfer them to a thumb drive, or even the files on the GoPro, it does fill up fairly quickly. You can't just have 100 videos on there that are all 10 minutes long. You kind of got to transfer them out. So what we would do is we would transfer them out to our, to our hard drives and whatnot, and then we would go back and delete them off the camera. So the document camera was huge in the process. And then it seems corny, but we took an angle gauge from Kevin's lab that is, that he had machined or a student had machined. There's tons of them laying around. And what we used the angle gauge for was, initially with the GoPro camera, it's kind of hard to figure out. It's not hard, but it takes some practice to figure out, if you're going to have it on your head, what angle do you want it at? And you need more of an angle than you think to show what you're trying to show. So we did some experimenting with that, and we literally found that by placing the angle gauge against our head, seems corny, and using that to set the angle of the camera, it was perfect. So it really takes the guesswork out, because if you're not using something like that, when you're recording your video, you're kind of going, well, I hope my head's in the right position. So that was a big help for just creating consistency. So really my experience with this, what I will say is it's been awesome. But my first point here is I don't think this is a best practice. And what I mean by that is this has worked for me and Kevin for our given circumstances and what we wanted to do. I'm not really a big believer in the term best practice. Honestly, it kind of drives me nuts, just because I think that everyone's situation is a little different. Even when we go from, as many of us who have taught or are faculty members know, we go from one class to another. Same class, different group dynamics. They change. So I don't think, I would say this is a best practice. This is just me stating what I have kind of found works throughout the process. So really the main thing here is it's not a replacement. It is designed, our thought process behind it was an enhancement, as the title of our presentation states. It's there to kind of help out. And so now that we've, the first part of Corona, we were not meeting in person. We didn't come back to face-to-face instruction until, midsummer of 2020. So we finished out the last half of our term basically all virtual. And it was definitely challenging. It was challenging from the perspective of, what information do you really want to convey to your students? What can you practically push out to them? And also just finding the time to really record the videos for all the different classes that I was teaching. So Kevin and I, we're not just teaching 2 classes and then we repeat those 2 classes. I believe at that point in the semester, during 2020, I had like 15 or 16 separate sections of class. So if you think about it, so I want to make a video for each class. Well, that's 16 videos to record. So I kind of had to figure out where do I want to focus my time at, and really how can I kind of do things from a multitask perspective of, yeah, these classes might be different, we're TIG welding versus MIG welding, but what are those common things that we can kind of use in all those courses? So it's a supplement. Once we came back to face-to-face instruction, it was a total supplement. We weren't trying to replace anything. We've been face-to-face, thankfully, for the most part since that point. We did have the little shutdown after Thanksgiving last year, but by that point we were well versed in how to use Zoom, and we had a lot of our videos already recorded, so it was a lot easier to do. So it is a supplement, and it's great now because it helps free up lab time, and I'll talk more about that here in a few minutes. One thing I did at first was I was recording a lot of videos for metallurgy, and metallurgy is, as many of us know, it's a complicated, it's a never-ending rabbit hole. So it's a complicated subject. So I was recording my videos, and they were 25 to 40 minutes. And it works okay. It works okay for the students who want to review what you've already talked about, maybe in class or whatnot, but they were just too long. So we really kind of made Mr. Crittner and I talked about it. It's like, well, 10 minutes would be kind of what we're shooting for, 10 minutes or less. And I would say that I have a much better response from my students on the shorter videos. And even myself, when I go to watch a video or I go to watch a training, and I look and I pull up a YouTube video and I go, man, it's 45 minutes. Oh, I think students obviously have that same reaction. If it's 6 minutes or 8, I think it's a lot more digestible from their perspective. So I seem to have a lot better response with the shorter videos. And I understand sometimes that you can't do that. So what I would recommend would be, if you do have a subject that you want to talk about for, that's going to take more time, I would break it up into shorter segments. This would be good advice, I think. The big one on this list, honestly, is from all the interaction that I've had with other faculty members and with doing our online teaching training that we did here at LMC, is really this one over not obsessing over quality. I think that why people are hesitant to get involved in creating these videos is the fact that they think they have to be perfect. And if they make any mistakes or whatnot, they have to start over or reshoot the video or make edits. Disclaimer, I don't know how to edit a video. Everybody who, Kyle Kelly, one of our IT instructors, he's like, oh, it's really easy to do. I just haven't had training on it. So, I would like to be able to go back with some of my videos that I created that were longer and break them up into smaller segments. I'm yet to be able to do that. So that's something I still want to learn how to do is, if I wanted to make edits or cut out a section of a video that I decided was redundant or just break it up, I need to learn how to do that still. But this obsessing over quality, it's come up a lot. And really in our videos, what we figured out is, from our perspective, it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to misspeak. You're going to stutter. You're going to cough, drop parts. Kevin Krittner, he made me laugh because he was shooting a video a couple weeks ago, and literally as he was shooting his video on his computer, his phone rang. So he just silenced the phone and said, just disregard that. It doesn't matter. I'm in my office, and just kept going. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And really, from the conversations that I've had with students about the quality of the videos, as I've done more of them, I think that I've gotten definitely more polished and better. But they like it when you make mistakes, and I think the reason that is, what I've gotten from them is it makes you seem like a real person. Those of us that teach welding, we know that when we pull up YouTube, some videos on there are a lot better than others, to say the least. But I always appreciate the videos that, welding tips and tricks is one that comes up all the time. What I love about welding tips and tricks as it relates to my students is when we show those in class or we have students watch them, Jody that runs the videos, he makes mistakes and he shows those mistakes in his videos. I like that because the same thing happens to us. Even though we're skilled fabricators, we're skilled welders, we still screw up. Every day I screw something up. It's just part of our profession. So, some of the videos that are out there that are on YouTube, it looks like it's a one and done shot, but we know that behind closed doors, we're seeing the scenes that are shot number 20 in a lot of these cases. So YouTube is still great for supplementation. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. That was really a big thing that I decided right off the get-go, because Kevin and I discussed, and he's like, I'd like to try to get some arc shots of you welding. And, we haven't actually got a chance to try that yet, but I really didn't focus on it too much because there's already really good videos on YouTube showing that type stuff. I wanted it to be more focused on what I'm doing specifically in my lab for my students. So it's not that they couldn't be used elsewhere. I could put them on YouTube, I suppose, but that's not my goal. We still use the YouTube frequently throughout our instruction. Here's actually a couple of our students welding in the lab from a few years ago, pre-COVID. So what else have I learned? The big thing is, because of the fact that we're back to face-to-face instruction, this is great supplementation for students that aren't getting it, or maybe they're more visual learners, or they need repetition. So it's really good for the ones who, are kind of struggling in class and They're having difficulty remembering, hey, I can't remember how to set up that machine. I can't remember how the different parts of the TIG torch go together. That's one of the videos I'm going to show you today is, the parts of the TIG torch. How to run the shears, another video that we'll show you today. So it's really great for those students because we all remediate. It's just part of our job. But there comes a point, Kevin Crittner's thing is after I show you something 3 times, I'm going to start getting a little irritated because, 3 times, if I got to show you and you work for me, I'm just going to tell you to get out of the way and I'm going to do it myself. So, if they are struggling, it's really good for those students to just be able to go back and watch it on their own time, or even watch it during their lab time in the course. It's a new process, and I was very nervous at first because I hate hearing my voice on video. I hate watching myself on video. I'm very critical of myself. But what I will say is once you get past the first few videos of doing this stuff, it gets a lot easier. You realize it's okay to make mistakes. The videos aren't going to be perfect. You may misspeak and forget to put emphasis on something. If that happens, what I'll do is when I post it on Canvas, I'll make a note of it in the description of the video or whatnot. Hey, FYI, forgot to mention XYZ. Okay. So really, it's just that initial part of getting yourself comfortable with it, trying it out, and seeing what works and what doesn't. And really, it's kind of fun to do, especially if you have somebody that you can work with. Like I'm lucky in the fact that I have Kevin and we work really well together. So, a lot of this stuff we were able to figure out by working, as a team. So not that you couldn't do it by yourself, but I think it is easier if you have a resource like that. And then really my last bullet point here, it's kind of comical, and this one kind of comes more from Kevin. He made emphasis on this when I showed him my presentation the other day, and I said, is there anything you want me to add in there for you? And he said, yeah, for once we have something that students can actually use their cell phones for that's productive in class. So there's been a couple times where I've had to catch myself for going to get on a student about, hey, I noticed you're playing on your phone a lot when you're in your booth. What's going on? Is there something more important that you'd rather be doing? And come to find out they're watching one of my videos. So it's kind of a humbling moment. But yes, for once, they're actually using it for a productive reason, not surfing Facebook and looking at Amazon. So I definitely appreciate that. I didn't put bullet points up. I had a lot more bullet points, and I kind of went through and critiqued my own work and said, you got too much verbiage on the screen, Nate, so get rid of it. One thing that I've noticed is kind of difficult to do is finding the time to do the videos. Because really the way that we're set up in our building, and we always have students coming and going, and unfortunately our offices are all glass. So people can see when you're in your office. So what'll happen is if I want to allocate time to shoot a video between classes, maybe I have a 2-hour break and I say, you know what, I want to rip out a quick video on the fly here about this. It's very easy to get interrupted because people will come in and they'll knock on your door, even though they see that you're busy. It's like they don't have that situational awareness. Or you'll be doing a video out in the lab, and then someone will come up right when you're in the middle of recording it. So you kind of need to allocate time where you're not going to be interrupted. And I understand sometimes that's impossible, but it can be tough to find the time to do the videos. So I know I've kind of talked quite a bit here. I have a couple videos. We might only end up showing one of them. We'll see how the time goes. So here's just a sample video that I recorded. This was my first ones, and you'll kind of notice that in this video, I move my head around quite a bit, and that's one of the things that I learned pretty quick with the GoPro camera is you got to kind of plan your head movements. If you're jogging your head around a lot, it's going to be noticeable. So that's just something that kind of came up. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll go back at it.
We're looking at how to run the Edwards Iron Worker here. This machine is a really versatile machine for metal working. We can cut flat material to length. We can cut angle to length. Here on the right side, we have we have a notcher, Cooper notcher. And then over here on the left side, we can change out this accessory. Right now it's got a punch in it. You can put a pipe notcher in here. You can put other accessories in here. So you kind of got to pay attention to what's over here. If that's what you want to use, you got to change the tooling over. You can also hook in other equipment like this tubing bender that we have over here. So that's just an overview of the machine. If I want to make a cut, how do I do it? Well, the problem is down here typically. Students come in and they go, hey, how do I use this machine? I hit the button and it won't turn on. So what am I doing wrong? Well, you got to check a couple of things. One, you want to make sure that this breaker is in the on position. That's going to determine whether it's getting power or not. I hit the start, nothing happens. Well, here's the problem. The E-stop is normally the problem. So what you got to do is you got to trip the E-stop, reset it by turning it clockwise until it clicks. Below that, you've got your selector switch here. You can choose what mode you want the shear to be in. You want it in iron worker. If you want to use any of these features here, any of this stuff here is iron worker mode. The tubing bender is here. Auto cut, don't worry about. We're going to use iron worker. So I got it there. I'm going to hit the start button. Here the machine turns on. All right, now I've got my piece of steel here. I want to cut it to length. What do? Well, I push it in, and that blade from this clamp right here, that blade is offset in there 5.5 inches. So I mark my part, I'm going to push it in, and that blade, you can't see it probably in the video, but the blade cuts like this. So I want to have my piece to the left as far as I can get it. And I'm going to push it in, and I'm simply going to snug it down right here. And I just snug that down, and I hit the foot pedal. So I put my foot in the pedal, press it, I make my cut. I back it up a little bit. If I want to make another cut, I can push it in further. If I'm cutting coupons, what I like to do is I snug it down and then I back it up a little bit. And by doing so, I'm still close, but I can move my part in and out, and I can make my cut and simply push my part in and make my next cut. So I don't really have to snug it down every time. If I'm just doing some general cutting, I'm not really concerned about how clean of an edge I get. If I want to shear some angle off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of angle, put it in right here. Once again, that's going to be offset inside there. So you're looking at about 5.5 inches of offset. I'm going to tilt the piece of angle. If I look at it from the end here, I want to level it out. So I'm going to snug that down. I'm going to hit my foot pedal. And it makes my cut on my angle. So I got a nice clean cut there. Really no burr. Very good job. Very quick way to cut angle iron to length. I come over to here. My notcher is right here. So I've got my guard in place. I can slide my part in and out. If I want to adjust the height of that, I simply loosen these two bolts right here, and I can move that up or down to match my part. I push it in there. I should have it marked out. I grab my foot pedal, and I'm going to press it down. And bam, it just notched it out. So that's a real quick rundown of how to use the Edwards Iron Worker.
Okay, so that was, like I say, that was one of the first videos I did. You can tell that there was, some mistakes there, but it conveys the information that I need it to convey. I'm sorry.
We're looking at how to run.
Go to the next slide here. This video, I'd like to show this, but I want to leave some time for discussion. So I think I'm going to omit this from the presentation. I apologize. I'll give you guys the link to the presentation. I believe Dr. Flowers already has it. So you can go back and watch this video as well. I want to open the floor to discussion from you guys and see what kind of questions or comments you guys have. So
Nate, there's already a couple of questions. And then if you want to come on screen, go ahead and click the share video audio or ask to share video audio, and I'll get you on there. The first question is from Dan Rinsma. He's asking, have you heard of, if you can see that, Nate, of that style of iris weld camera?
Yeah, I believe when we had the trends last year, one of the instructors had just purchased one of those, and I remember it was brand new. I don't think he was really had a chance to really use it a whole lot at that point. I have not used it. I don't have an answer for you of if it's good or not, but I know that there was an instructor. I don't remember what school he was from, but there was someone that was using something like that.
Yeah, he was actually when we had our welding roundtable, one of the instructors, and I'll look it up and find out and send a note out to the group today that the people that attended this session. But he actually, they purchased it and it was quite a setup, quite expensive, but he liked it. They haven't quite used it yet. But
Yeah.
another question is, what did you use for my microphone? I know background noise can be an issue.
Yeah, so we use a document camera for all the stationary videos. The microphone on that was fine. On the GoPro, it was literally the GoPro camera was the microphone that we used. You could use an external microphone here again. I don't know how to do that. I'm sure I could figure it out, but it did pretty well. Like you could hear in that first video there where when I cut the part, the sound kind of muffled for a quick second, and then it came right back up. So we really have not had any issues as it relates to audio with background noise. The only thing would be if, like I was saying before about finding the time to record a video, if someone came in the shop and started grinding or whatnot while you were recording, that's going to be an issue. But really, if you have your environment set up the way that you want to, it hasn't been a problem for us.
Yeah, one of the things I can remember about, one of the things I liked about the videos, Nate, is especially for your students, is that they're hearing your voice, so it's your voice that they're hearing, you're, interacting with you. And so that's one of the things that, they're connected to. So many times these situations, instructors are like, well, hey, how can they can't see my face? Well, they don't need to see your face. Basically they can hear you, but that's one of the things Kevin liked about that he could actually do that setup. So I'm just posting. This is the one that you asked about, Dan. It's a WeldWatch camera system. Oakland Community College purchased one. You can probably reach out to oh goodness gracious, at Oakland and ask them. They purchased a WeldWatch system, so that's the one that they were talking about, and so that links there online. So again, any other questions for Nate or anyone wants to pop on?
No. So what I do is pretty well everything that I use in my class, I build myself, and it's not as fancy as I could get from, say, the Lincoln program or some resources that you can find on textbook publishers or whatnot. But again, it's that personal touch on it that the students like that, and I'm able to convey exactly the information that I want to convey to them for that given day. Like I say, every one of our situations is different. So some of us teach class, and my classes are typically in 3-hour blocks. So I have to figure out, where do I want to draw the line on classroom versus we just need to head to lab and work on this stuff. So yeah, as much as I would love to spend 40 hours in the classroom, sometimes I just can't do that. So that's where building my own resources has helped me a lot with my time management. So no, there was no release time or whatnot. It was basically at that point in time, that's what my instruction was navigating Canvas, keeping my students posted on what was going on, because we were kind of going at that point, it was day to day, where it was like, hey, maybe next week we can come back for some training. So our president was talking about the other day that when we shut down at that point, they were saying 8 weeks, and here we are a year and a half later. So, yeah. So did not get release time. I think I need to talk to Dr. Flowers about that. So I think it would be nice to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that was a topic of discussion, right? Because a lot of those things came up. We did end up eventually coming up with some dollars to help cover costs for that, but Nate and Kevin were already done and already way ahead of the game. And so that's one thing, is when you have special people that really care about what their students are doing. Their first question to me wasn't what hey, how am I going to get paid for this? They just jumped in and did it. And then they also saw the advantages of it. And now they're using their videos all of the time. I mean, if you think that Nate's saying he's not technical, Kevin's even further beyond not wanting to be technical, and so he really wants to do things by hand. And so he's really learning management system, and all of their classes are now set up with the LMS. So they're doing a great job with that. Any other questions for Nate?
Has anybody, I'm just curious if from the rest of the group, has anybody, taken a similar approach and made their own videos, or have they done other things that they found were really helpful throughout this process? I'm sure everybody kind of has a method of attack now, but I'm just kind of curious about that. Is there a way?
Hey, Nate.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so we've actually done some camera stuff here, but not with, this is an awesome idea because I love the headset, the point of view angle. But the stuff we've been doing has been more stationary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a great idea that I'm going to try. I was just, so I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah,
we're definitely looking into it. One thing I thought, though, you gave me an idea when you were saying, don't erase your mistakes. We do a lot of video recording of lectures,
mm-hmm.
and we don't delete the mistakes and go back and do it either, just because it's a good learning experience. But it seems to me you could turn that around, and I'm actually in electronics rather than welding.
Yeah, okay.
But, we could set up a video showing how do you measure something with the meter and purposely make a mistake, and then maybe pause the video, and just go, hey, what have I done wrong here? And use that as an augment in the class,
right?
Ask the student, point out, what have I done wrong? What do I need to correct, kind of thing. Have you tried that at all?
Kevin's done more of that. What he'll do is in his videos, a lot of the times he'll do a quiz like at the end, and he'll have questions like, hey, I misstated something related to X. What was it? And then they'll either record a response or he'll give them options to state that. So he's done a little bit more of that than I have. Mine have been more just focused on conveying the content, honestly.
So are you not using these in the class actually, like during a lecture? Or because that's more what I was thinking. I didn't realize you were having them post answers and things back.
Well, that's, those kind of assessments and whatnot, we cover the content, and then they can watch the videos outside of class, and then that's where the assessment is located. It's just one way that we assess.
Okay.
But yeah, we use them both. We use them directly in class, and then also, like I say, for students that are struggling and whatnot, it's, hey, why don't you go check out this video that I recorded. Okay. It's on the Canvas page. So it's a combination thereof. But yeah, as far as, recording mistakes and whatnot, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks, man. I love the comments too about first time encouraging him to use an iPhone. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, it takes practice. And really not to dismiss that document camera. If honestly, if you came to me and you said you can pick one, what would you choose? I would choose a document camera over the GoPro because of the fact that I just like it. The files are easier to manage and whatnot. They load onto Canvas a little bit easier for you, and I can use it for a lot of applications. The whole cost of that setup too. I meant to talk about that. The camera and the accessory kit, we got everything for under $300.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't a huge investment. And really, LMC was cool about it because at first, when this happened, we were allocated, hey, anything that you need related to teaching from home or whatnot, they gave us so much money to, I think it was like $500 or something to purchase items. So it wasn't even difficult to get. So it was literally figure out what we wanted, order it. It was here 2 days later, and then we just started playing. So we took a couple days to just kind of mess around, and then once we got it down, it was just go to work.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
I did. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Let's see here. We got a question.
Yeah, Keith has a question.
Has it been useful in catching up students that have missed time or helping move advanced students further ahead? Absolutely. Yeah. The missed time is, my thing nowadays is, in the past, I would always try to break my bat to get people caught up who missed class. And what I've kind of figured out throughout my teaching career is just because you miss class doesn't mean you're entitled to a private tutoring lesson from me. So this has been phenomenally helpful in that. In, hey, you weren't in class, watch my presentation on Canvas. It literally covers the same content. The only thing that the presentations online don't have is the interaction back and forth, but they're thorough presentations. So it's great for those situations. And as far as moving students ahead, I open up my videos right off the get-go to my students that are on their pages, and I'll take some away and I'll add some as we get going through the term. And if I record new ones, I'll add them on. But yeah, for the students who want to move ahead, or they're already past where they need to be, it's very helpful for them as well. And I would say that Kevin would say that's definitely the case with him, because he has his videos set up where they can just go and, okay, what am I going to do next on the CNC machine? So he doesn't have to spend as much time with them, because you know how it is as a tech instructor, you don't always have time to convey everything that you need to, just because you have 16 people that you're trying to teach at the same time. It's not like it's always one-on-one. So yeah. And I believe, Keith, you were involved in those earlier discussions that we had about this process last year. So hopefully it's working out well for you, or at least been helpful. Anybody else?
So thanks so much, Nate. It was a great presentation. One of the things I want everybody to do today is kind of spend some time just looking around the site and getting figured out, so you can interact with people. I mean, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can open and close the chat. You can select whether you're chatting during this particular session you're in, or you can select on the event. If somebody sends you a notice. And then on the left-hand side, at 10 o'clock, the networking piece will open. And if you click on that, you can network with some colleagues, and then the expo as well. And so again, thanks again for today. Thank you, Nate. Again, great presentation. Well done. And again, if anyone has any questions, we will be sending out the presentation to everyone at the end of the conference. And then everyone have a great day.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.